Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the workshop. Today I'm really excited to show you a new piece of equipment that I've got. It's yet another way for me to expand my capabilities even further, and I'm really pleased with it. So I'm glad that you're here. I'll invite you to like and subscribe, then we'll have a look at it. Right, this is an arc welder and it's absolutely brilliant. I have it because over the last few months my scout leader has been teaching me to weld. I've been learning to arc weld because arguably that is the method that requires the most technique to get to work. So if later on I go to do more welding in the future, other methods, then it'll be easier for me to pick those up having already done arc, which takes a bit of a knack to get to go. My leader is very experienced at welding. He's been welding for over 50 years, he told me. So it was an honour to learn from him, and I think he's done a pretty good job. I think I'm fairly competent at arc welding now. So yeah, I'm very grateful to him for having taught me. Excuse the rain. I don't think I've ever actually filmed anything with this much rain going on, but I think you can still hear me. The next thing to say is that this welder is obviously second hand, as you can probably tell. My leader obviously saw the interest that I was taking in welding, and we were talking about me potentially getting one of my own, and he had a friend who doesn't really do enough welding anymore to justify him having this machine, so he was willing to give it to my leader, who gave it to me, and that's where it came from. It's an arc welder. Like I said, I'll get onto that a bit more. There's different types of welding which we'll talk about briefly. It came with this old-fashioned welding mask. You have to hold it in front of your face so that you don't get blinded by the welding. He also gave me all of the welding rods that he had left over when he stopped welding. But since then, for Christmas, I have been given a pair of gloves because the electrodes get very hot, so you need to have some protective gloves. I was just going to use my leather gardening gloves, but these ones are going to be much better. And also this welding helmet, which you can put on your head like this, and then I can be hands-free welding with both my hands available while this is held in place by the headband. I did ask for a blue one. The one that I picked online didn't have this pattern on it. It's exactly the same helmet, it's just a completely different colour. I don't really mind. It just shows one of the things that can happen when you order things online, I suppose. It works fine. Not exactly blue and the plainest that I wanted, but hey ho. I don't even know what it is. I think it's a guy with a spear on there, but nah, whatever. It's a welding mask. The important thing is that it protects my eyes, which is obviously very important. Now, I said that there are different methods of welding, and at this point I'd love to go off and do a brief history of welding and talk to you about how all of those different methods work, and how this one works, but I can't really say that I'm qualified on that yet. I do have a rough knowledge of how they all work in my head, but I'm not really confident enough to go and just tell you that it's all fact, because although I could preface that it's not, I don't want to be spreading mysteries. I don't want anybody to misunderstand. So for now, I'll just say that from what I know, there's TIG welding, tungsten inert gas, MIG welding, metal inert gas, and arc welding, which this machine can do. Those are the three probably most popular and main types. This one is just an arc welder because some machines can do more than one type of welding, but this one can just do arc. I will probably go away and do some research, and then I will be able to make a separate video which goes into much greater detail on the history, how all the different methods work, how this welder works, and things like that. So obviously, as you've all subscribed with your notifications on, you won't be able to miss that video, so look out for that. Now, in today's video, I intend to mount this permanently here in the shed. A space under the workbench is going to be made available, and hopefully we will mount it up underneath the workbench so that it's out of the way and so that I can use the welder very easily without having to get it out and move things around too much. You can see under here, under the workbench, this is where I want the welder to go. That way I will be able to have the leads hung in front down here, and the power leads can come through a hole in the workbench back here somewhere. The power lead can come up through and sit here, so that every time I want to use the welder, I just pick that up, plug it in, and then take the leads off the front down here, and I can then work anywhere within the shed, hopefully. The cables are quite long. They should enable me to weld anywhere within the shed. So yeah, that's what we're going to get on with now. Stop talking, Chris. Get on with it. Okay, I've yet to find a home for all of that stuff, but we'll worry about that later. As you can see, the welder fits nicely in that little corner down there. All we need to do now is lift that up to there. Now I intend to make some L-shaped brackets which go down and across and can screw into the cupboard and into the workbench to support the machine. It is quite heavy, but I think we'll be able to make it strong enough. So to do that, we have in the metal rack, which I put up ages and ages ago, some old washing line tube of different thicknesses. So we've got some round stuff there. I have welded round material before, but not at a 45-degree cut, which is what we're going to have to make if we're going to be doing an L-shaped bracket. And the other thing we might have to do is put some flat bar plates onto the ends of the tubes like this, so that we have something to drill and screw through into the cupboard and the workbench, because obviously we can't do that with this tube. On second thoughts, the washing line is full of holes where the washing line cable used to go through, whereas this ironing board frame, don't ask me where I get all this metal from, but this ironing board frame is not full of holes, so we might use that instead. Both of these tubes are quite thin. They might be thinner than 1.6 millimeters, but I can always weld more into the plates that will go on top like this, which will be, I hope, thicker, because then I won't burn through that thicker material, but I will still get a nice weld between that plate and the tube. There is what we will make the end pieces out of. And thinking about it, if this is too thin, we could always cut the big hinge, because I have a second one down lengthways that's much thicker. Could always cut that down lengthways. It would take a bit of angle grinding, but I could do it as long as I've got enough. It is another option, although it wouldn't look very neat, but I don't really mind. So next we're going to need to do a lot of angle grinding to cut and smooth all of this metal out. You need to have clean steel to weld to, otherwise you can't weld through paint or rust. So I'll need to grind everything smooth once everything has been cut to shape. Okay, we now have 2 pieces of tube that are 9 inches long, 2 that are 13 inches long, and 4 tabs which are fresh hot off the angle grinder to go on the ends of each tube like that. I have cut the other end of each tube at a 45-degree-ish angle so that I can hopefully, not that I've ever done it before, but I'm going to try and weld them together like this, so that we end up with our L-shaped brackets for the welder to sit in. I did have a test piece on the tubes of the same thickness. The washing line and the ironing board, they're about 1 mil thick, I think. And I did have a test piece on this bit, and you can see there how I burnt through the pole. So I will need to be very careful. That was with the welder turned right down to 1.6. I don't think you can see the marker, but it is in there. So I turned the welder right down. I did burn through, but if I go careful and I'm only going to be tacking, which is just putting a little dot of weld on each side, just holds it in place while we get everything situated. If I just tack weld on carefully, hopefully we'll be able to get everything mocked up. Hopefully the L's will come out with some nice right angles in them and won't be too obtuse or acute, and then we can go from there. Another tool which I've got for Christmas is some clamps at long last. So these are going to be great. We can now hopefully clamp our pieces to the workbench, and it will make it that much easier, one thing to hold still while we are welding. So I can immediately see that I've got, I'll have to bring you closer, hang on. I can immediately see there that putting a 90-degree angle on that I need to grind some of this tube off here, and then that should hopefully sit down more like that. So fine adjustments like that I can make with the angle grinder, so hopefully we'll be all right. Okay, I've made some adjustments. We've now got a nice 45-degree join at each one, so now I will just go back and clamp these in place. Get off of that, you can see they're joined together. Woohoo! First weld! Okay, immediate problem, they are not joined on the other side. Oh, that's a pain. Okay, I'm just trying to gently tweak it, don't want to snap what I've just done. I do need them to be square. Still got a nice 90-degree by the looks of things. Not bad. Where are we looking here? So on this side it's gone okay, there's only a little hole there. I'll put a bit in the inside here in a minute. On this side I've burnt a bigger hole. I might be able to fill that with something, don't know, but I think for a first attempt it went okay. Duck back under the camera. It is 90 degrees-ish, and it's going to be nice and strong hopefully. I'll knock this slag off, put a bit on the inside, and I might be able to put a small bit of thin bar in there and fill that in and just build it up, make it nice and strong. But I think we can work with this, it's not a total failure. So I'm really pleased, and I'm really pleased with this as well. Obviously it's working excellently. I just cannot turn it down any more than what I've got it on at the minute, because obviously the limit is 1.6 and this can only be 1 millimeter, it's not 1.6 millimeters thick, so we're pushing it, but we'll persevere. Okay then everyone, just stopped for a minute. After much work, we have now got good solid joins all the way around both brackets. I'm very happy with how they have turned out. You'll see on this side of this one here, there's a great big lamp there, and the same on this side of this one. That's because I had big holes burnt in that I couldn't get to fill with just weld, so I cut some of this thin rod and used that as a filler material, which actually went very well. So that's that done. They're nice and square so far, so now it's just going to be mounting these plates to the ends of each one so that we've got something to screw to the cupboard and the workbench with. Okay then, I cannot tell you how good the welder is. I had an amazing time fabricating up my very messy, very messy but very strong, hopefully, welds. Got the tabs, flat plates on the ends. The welds in the middle are looking good. Again, focus, come on. No, it's not really doing it. It's because of the window outside. That's better. Corners are all done. They're looking really good, and I've drilled some holes in the shorter sides because we are going to be having 2 bits of pallet wood between the 2 pieces of metal, so that the feet, you might be able to see, the welder has little feet, which will sit nicer on the pallet wood here than it would on the bars, and give everything a bit of airflow around it, because obviously it's got vents here so that it can breathe, which obviously is very important because this does get warm when I'm using it. And last thing I did was paint them with just a bit of undercoat, because weld in particular is really bad for rusting very quickly, which doesn't look that nice. Obviously everything looks more uniform now because we had all the white paint from before. So that's done there. They're just drying. Shouldn't touch dry now even, so I'll be able to crack on in a minute and screw everything in place. I was just working out which screws to use. So yeah, we'll get that under here. Got to have a measure and make sure everything's not too far forward and back. The leads wrap up nicely and hang on the knob for the adjustment. And the power lead, I've taken the plug off because we're going to, remember, drill a hole in the workbench. So I only have to drill one now for the thickness of the cable rather than the thickness for the plug. So we'll put the welder in situ and then work out where we're going to drill a hole for this. Well, the rain's really picking up now, but I think you can still hear me all right. I'm going to take these off now. They've literally only been hung for a few minutes, but the paint will dry properly when everything's in place. Now then, this might take a while. So we've got 18.5 inches there. We've got to account for all the cablage. About 1/2 inch clearance. We'll put the first one in about 1 inch away. Lovely. We blew up onto the leak. Otherwise, rain. Oh no! It's not a leak, it's a torrent! A waterfall! Ah! Footed. And 16 inches of thickness. Okay. The moment of truth. I really hope this fits. Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes! That is just what I wanted. Oh, that's perfect. Okay everyone, I have to say I am absolutely thrilled with this. It is slopey forward a bit, but not too much. It fits absolutely beautifully. There's plenty of airflow, I think. And yes, it's all held in nice and securely. The brackets are flush to the worktop and to the cupboard there. So all that leaves now is I fed the power lead back from the front. Hang on. I fed it from the front here out underneath over the brackets, running to the back. I think we're going to drill a hole in this corner here where the hammer normally sits, so that it's out the way, and it goes there underneath the workbench as well. That's where it naturally pops out from the back, so that's perfect. So we'll drill a hole in there and then yes, stick that through, rewire the plug, and that'll be it finished. This does feel very wrong, just drilling a random hole in my workbench. Put the power on for a second. And there she is. Okay, so now we just wire the plug up so that it's got just about enough room to plug in there, which is cut it just the right length. Okay, very quick tutorial for anybody who doesn't know how to wire a plug. Use the Stanley knife because I haven't got any wire strippers, inner wires, the neutral, live and earth. See how thick the outer sheathing is into that insulation. Brown one in first. let's imagine for a minute that I wanted to do some welding in today's video. Oh look, I'll come along, take my plug, pull it out, plug it into the power breaker, switch it on, trips off, switch it on, go down here, and we are ready to weld. I'm really happy with that. All we got to do now is get tidied up. Right, where to begin? Okay then everyone, that was a full day's work, but I'm absolutely thrilled with how the welder looks now that it's in its new home. I think it's going to be very efficient, it's very tidy, hopefully it works well in the future. I'll have to try and think of some things to make out of metal now. But yeah, it's just great just to be able to weld now if I want to weld. If I come up with an idea or a project comes up where something needs fixing or fabricating, then I am able to do that. So yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to look out for that more detailed, in-depth video about welding and welders. I will endeavour to put it out in the future that's close-ish. Try and get my head down and do some research on the old computer and find out as much as I can accurate information to add to what I already have in my brain and be able to tell you another time. So I think that's everything from me today. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, goodbye. I'm knackered.